Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. This is a game that I have a few hours put into. I put a lot more hours into the Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. That's the old one, but this is the new one, the newest and the greatest, the latest and greatest, if you will, of the Car Mechanic Simulator franchise. It's a solid ass game, honestly. We're back in simulator land, it appears. As general, the game supports mods, so people can mod in cars and parts for those cars as much as they want to, which I think is really cool. And honestly, it's a relaxing ass game. It's very positive on Steam, 87%, and to buy it, it's $20. That seems to be like a running thing. Is that like a lot of these games just cost $20? I do not mind that. Ooh, apparently they're working on a motorcycle mechanic simulator. That should be interesting. But anyway, let's try not to get too sidetracked this time. That happens all the damn time. I get sidetracked by something, I see something interesting, and I'm like, ooh, candy. And I just fucking roll with it. Let's try and stay on topic this time with Car Mechanic Simulator. So this game is really straightforward. You're building and or fixing cars. You're going to start off by fixing them, honestly. You start off with a shop. You got one lift and one shop parking spot. You don't really want to occupy both of those at the same time, because then you can't use either of them, because cars will be just like, stuck where they're at. You'll have to sell something or get rid of something or something. But the beginning of the game, the early gameplay loop is kind of I'll be honest, because you're spending a lot of time just more or less being a mechanic, a service mechanic. You're taking cars in, fixing what needs to be fixed, sending them on their way. You can fix more if you want to, but there ain't really a point. You're not going to really make any more money off of that. In fact, you'll probably lose money by buying the parts necessary to do the extra work. And it's not real life. You're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. I guess you are, sure, but again, it's not real life. It's a video game. So yeah, shout out to any car mechanics that are out there that may be watching this, because yeah, the shit's not necessarily the easiest stuff all the time. This game definitely kind of makes fixing cars seem a little easier than it actually is. There's a lot of parts that go into a car that this game doesn't quite factor in. This game doesn't seem to factor in any wiring whatsoever, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing in the sense that you don't have to deal with it, which is great. Normally car wiring's a fucking nightmare. But on the other hand, it's kind of a curse because you're not going to learn anything about it. But as far as the raw mechanical assembly of motors and stuff, you will learn a little bit. This is decent entry-level education type stuff. If you want to learn the absolute core basics of how to build a car, how to put a car together, this will do it. This game will definitely do it for you. But if you play this game for 100 hours, you're probably not going to be able to go and completely take a car apart and then put it back together and have it work, because again, no wiring and so on and so forth. But it is still a nice way to pass the time. It's kind of it's as close to real life as PC building simulator, which I think is a hilarious concept, to build a gaming computer so that you can play a video game where you build gaming computers. Yo dog, I heard you like gaming computers. But anyway, let's move on. Let's carry on. So there is more game than just servicing people's cars. The whole point of that is just to make money. Get you enough money to buy yourself your first car. That's my thing anyway. I save up to buy my first car off of all that stuff. And by the time you can afford a decent car, with a good shape, a body that's in pretty good shape and everything, by that point in time, honestly, you might have leveled up enough to get, more garage space, another parking spot, or maybe even another lift, Now, when you buy this first car, it might end up costing more than you expected. The auctions can be wild sometimes. There are barn finds, but those are also generally pretty expensive and generally pretty worse for wear. You're going to be in quite a bit of money to get those bad boys rolling. I have not actually done a barn find myself yet. I like gone and looked at them, but I could not afford the car at the time, so I didn't buy it. But it seems like an interesting concept. It seems like cars you don't really see at the auction, which is cool. So, like, I'm into that idea. Plus, there's a car dealership if for whatever reason you would just want to buy a brand new car, I guess. I don't know why you would want to do that, but it's there. There's also a variety of test tracks that you can, drive the cars on. The driving mechanics themselves they're passable. It's not going to be like the most intense thing ever, but it is cool that, you build these cool cars and then you can go and test them out. Like, if you, I don't know how aware you may be, but I have two project cars in my own garage on my save, and they're both Toyotas because I like Toyotas. Now, that brings me to an interesting point, though. This game, most of the cars in the base game, the vast majority of the cars, I think all of the cars in the base game are all like whatever the hell cars that they thought up, variations on stuff that actually exists to avoid licensing issues and whatnot. And obviously that's fine. Grand Theft Auto's been doing it forever, and they've been doing fine. But they do get automotive licenses to put in real cars too. Those generally end up being DLC, and I mentioned already that there's workshop support, there's mod support. People mod in cars that they like. So I have a few cars modded in. The two Toyotas around my shop are perfect examples of that, which is great. It's very great. I do think that that's a good move on their part, honestly, to allow that kind of stuff. And it really just improves the overall lifespan of the game. But there's like a certain zen to it. You kind of got the radio going, I have the radio turned off because I want to avoid any issues with licensed music. But you've got the radio on, you're just kind of wrenching away, just having a good old time, figuring stuff out. You can. I don't know if you start with it, but you do have access to a workbench to try and repair car parts. Obviously, you can't repair everything. You can't just like slap a fucking air filter with a hammer until it's good. Like, there's some parts like spark plugs, brake pads, and stuff like that is consumable by default that you won't be able to replenish. You'll just have to buy new ones, And the very few electrical components that there are, mostly plug wires and stuff, are also not something you can fix. You just need to replace. One thing that is nice, though, is that if you stick to it and you unlock everything that you need to unlock, you will have all the tools necessary to do the job. You'll also have plenty of garage space. Plus, it gives you access to a paint shop of your own, a suspension testing shop, a suspension and brake testing shop, so you can double check on where the weak points of certain cars are. Like, that's more for customer cars, If someone gives you a car and it's like really, they're like, the brakes are doing this, that, or the other, and I can't figure it out. You just roll it down that bitch. It'll tell you where the shitty brakes are at, and which brakes are less shitty. Where the shitty suspension is, and where the less shitty suspension is, and stuff. Or you could just like default to doing an even replacement on both sides, like you should in real life. Because if you're gonna if you've got a car, right, and you haven't changed your brakes in a while, and your brakes are more worn on one side than the other, so when you hit the pedal, it pulls to one side. If you fix the shittier side, now that side's going to be stronger, and it might pull towards that side. You might as well just do both sides, honestly. Like if your suspension's worn out unevenly, and it's pulling towards one side, fixing that one side means it might start pulling towards the other side, because the other side's not fixed. It's now that side's the weak point. So in order to avoid all that shit, it's just generally a good practice to fix things evenly. When there's two sides to the coin, you want to fix both sides of the coin when it comes to cars. You just want to make sure everything works. You want to make sure it's safe to drive, and so on and so forth. Obviously, when you have the luxury to do so. And there's also a lot of times that cars come in just for a damn oil change. Just like real life. You know? Shout out to mechanics who put up with oil changes. I can't fathom just doing oil changes all day on a bunch of shitty cars just for people to, be rude about it, too. Man, I'm gonna spit in your damn under your oil cap and shit, you know? Come on, man. But at the end of the day, this game is good. You don't have to deal with the customers directly, so there's no, shitty customer sequences or anything. It's just you get a car and it's got, a text thing that tells you what's wrong with it, or tells you their description of what's wrong with it. So there's where the education parts kind of will come in a little bit more. Is the customer will give you a car and it'll be it pulls to the left and it does this, that, or the other. Now you got to figure out why. Why does it do this? So that's where I think the more valuable education is, because in real life it's kind of like that. If your car's doing something that it shouldn't do, then it's cheaper to diagnose it yourself than to take it to a mechanic. But if you do take it to a mechanic, they need to know exactly how to diagnose what is wrong with your car in order to be able to fix it properly. So, there's just educational value in that kind of knowledge. Being able to figure out why your car is doing this, that, or the other. And from that cause, fixing it. And there's a lot to love about being able to learn stuff, Edutainment is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think it is, anyway. I think we should all strive to be smarter for ourselves and for those of us who have people around us, So, at the end of the day, though, this is a solid ass game. I recommend it, man. This one's $20, like I said, and if you don't want to get the new one, if you're totally fine with getting the old one, that one's also $20. So I would just get the new one personally. That's if somebody said, "Hey, I got a 1990 Honda Civic, and then I've also got a 2005 Honda Civic. They're both exactly the same condition, and they're both also $1,000. Just pick one. I would pick the newer one. It's gonna have more amenities, more comforts, more creature comforts and such, things like that. And so, I think this marks a good spot to go ahead and cut it, and to tell all of you guys that I have things in the works. I got stuff. I got ideas, man. I'm gonna start working on some new stuff, and I'm not sure exactly when it'll be ready to be revealed to the world, but it's being worked on. And yeah, so if you don't want to miss it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss the new goodies, because I'm doing something totally different, Monty Python style. But anyway, again, feel free to grief the bell button. I say that every video. Feel free to grief that bell button, man. It helps me out. Feel free to dislike if you think that I've earned it, or maybe dislike if you're sick and tired of me doing simulator games. I hate to break it to you if you're in that boat, though. There's more simulator games that I got. So, yeah. But yeah, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will fucking see you later.